Yo, what it do? This your brother Jay, International, tapping back in once again. I know you like that entrance, right? Little dramatic entrance. But today what I want to talk about is what I dislike about this corporate legal world. And having played in both worlds, having played in the corporate world, having played in the street world, I am qualified to give an accurate assessment on what I like about this one, what I dislike about this one. And for this video, I took some notes. So I got some notes here. You guys, you'll see me looking at the notes, but I wanted to be very accurate about this, So I usually do my videos free form, but I wanted to be accurate about what I dislike about this corporate world. So starting with number one, what I most dislike about the corporate world / legal world, and I'll contrast that with what I like about the street world, is I dislike the people in the corporate world. In the corporate world, you're going to have a lot of fake, phony, dishonest type of people that you're going to deal with. You're going to have people that are smiling in your face, talk shit behind your back. You're going to have a lot of fake ass, annoying, coward type people in this corporate world. You'll encounter fake people in the street world, but you usually can deal with those fake people in a certain way, whether you distance yourself from those fake people, or whether you decide to take direct action against those fake people. In the corporate world, you can't do that, because at the end of every decision that you make is the risk of you losing that corporate job if you make the wrong mistake. And in the streets, it's the risk of you losing your life, but you can make certain moves that, okay, if you make a certain action, then there's certain moves you got to take, there's certain precautions you got to take. You can't really do that in the corporate world. Also, what I dislike about the corporate world, the legal world, is the corporate politics. You get in a corporate job, there's certain politics that you got to play by, right? And they're often fake, phony politics. You gotta act like you like certain people when you really don't. You gotta be forced to interact with certain people when you really wouldn't interact with these people in your regular life, but you gotta fake it and be forced to interact with these people. You gotta have people that may be over you in a higher position than you, and you have to deal with these people. They may be idiots. You may be more smarter than them. You may be more intelligent than them. You may have more knowledge and experience than them, but because they got in before you, in terms of seniority, or because they made certain connections that based on either their race or their gender or a combination of both, you got to adhere to these people because these people are in control of your economic life. I dislike that, man. In the streets, it don't work like that. You may have a certain person, depending on whatever street hustle you got going on, that may have a certain type of power, but you don't have to pretend if you want that power. You don't have to pretend, or act like you ain't trying to make certain moves in the streets that you are. You may have to move smart, you have to move wise, but it's not a situation where someone can stop you from making your money. Only person that can stop you from making your money in the streets is you. And depending on how you gotta move, because you're gonna have some people that's trying to infringe on your territory or whatever you're doing, trying to stop your hustle, your grind, but they can't. They only can do to you what you allow them to do to you. In the corporate world, you have no power over that. If a person is an asshole, is a jerk, and they want to do certain, and they're in a position of power to affect you, they can, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. You can do whatever you want. You could try to do whatever you want to do. You could try to kiss their ass more. You could try to be more agreeable. You could try to be more non-threatening. But at the end of the day, that individual that has this superior position over you in this corporate world can determine the fate of yourself and your family. And that's the type of shit I don't like. I just don't like. Like Chief Keef said, that's the shit I don't like. So the corporate politics, I dislike that you can't get no get back. Now, what do I mean by that, right? If you have a certain position and there's someone that's over you or a peer, or you have to go in to take a certain test or get a certain license, and you know that you thoroughly prepared yourself for this, you studied, you did everything you need to do to prepare yourself to take on this, and depending on if a certain person is an asshole, is having a bad day, they woke up on the wrong side of the bed, they can affect your economic life with their decision. I give a good example about this, right? So I went in to go take a certain test. I thoroughly prepared for this test. I overstudied for this test, and I knew that this test was easy. This is the corporate world. I knew that, hey man, I done did something harder than this. This test is easy. I know I'm prepared for this. I know I can handle this. I done prepared myself thoroughly for this test, but I go in to take this test, and I encounter this asshole. This person had a bad attitude off the gate. They had a bad disposition off the gate. They had a bad demeanor off the gate. And I'm like, damn. And it was, no matter what I did right, I was trying to overdo things just to make sure that I make no mistakes. You can't get in, how do you get in trouble or be affected by overdoing things, right? Like doing things to perfection, right? But this individual had the say over whether I pass or fail that test just by their decision, their power. And based on them being an asshole, a jerk, they affected my economic situation, right? That's the type of stuff you got to deal with in this corporate world. That's the type of stuff that you got to deal with. And I can't get no type of get back. I couldn't get no type of get back. I couldn't go and be like, you know what? You affected my economic situation. This is how I'm going to respond to you. Because guess what? Law enforcement, the race soldiers, right? In the streets, you get back. If you do something to somebody wrong, if you screw over somebody, there's immediate repercussions. There's get back. I seen it in the streets. I seen how it go down in the streets. There is get back. So you can't just screw somebody over in the streets and just think, oh, you're just gonna walk away and all lottie-dottie and things, everything is cool. No, there's repercussions for when you do somebody wrong in the streets. Ain't no repercussions in this corporate world. In this corporate world, somebody can screw your ass over, make a decision about your economic life, and that's it, right? And if you try to get back, guess what's gonna happen? Your ass gonna be in prison. So that's another thing. What else I like? It kind of leads to the dislike, right? The dislike that punk ass people, punk ass as I said, in the last point, punk ass people have a say over your economic destiny. Because just by that asshole, that jerk, that supervisor, that manager making a certain decision that ain't fair, that ain't right, if you are a person, as most of us are, dependent on that check, living check to check, that asshole making that decision can affect if you're going to have enough money to pay your rent next month, if you're going to have enough money to put food on your table next month for your family. Can't nobody do that in the street unless you allow it. Unless you allow it. Can't nobody get at you like that in the streets. Only you determine, my bad about that. Only you determine what's going to happen to you in them streets. And whatever move you take, you are the one that's going to be affected by that. Not this individual that just happens to be in a position above you in this corporate world that can just say, you know what, I'm having a bad day today. My significant other broke up with me, and I'm just gonna, and I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, and I'm just gonna come into the office and take it out on whoever's under me. And that's the type of stuff that goes on, right? Another thing I dislike is the sheep mentality. Everybody in the corporate world is like a sheep, man. They moving like sheeps. They mindset is like a sheep. Their mentality is like a sheep. They just follow the lead, and that's it. They have no ambitions. I'm not saying everybody, but a majority of individuals in that corporate world are just sheep-minded, right? Which leads to the next point. I dislike the ass kissing and the brown nosing. So because most people in this corporate world are sheep-minded, you have a lot of ass kissing, you have a lot of brown nosing, and you have a lot of backstabbing because they're trying to get ahead of you. So they're going to do whatever they can do to put themselves in a higher position than you, even if that means stabbing you in the back. Brown nosing, ass kissing. That's the type of shit that happens in the corporate world. Ain't none of that in the street world, right? Ain't no brown nosing, ain't no ass kissing. Everything is determined by your grind, by your grit, by your hustle, right? And that's what determines whether you gonna get ahead. If you outworking the next person, you gonna get ahead. If you are more strategic, more intelligent, have a better plan of action than the next person, then you'll get ahead, right? Usually don't happen in the corporate world. And the last thing I dislike, especially if you're a black male in the corporate world, is the racism. The racism. A lot of these employers, due to that equal opportunity law or act, they have to hire people of color, right? Because of this equal opportunity, equal employment act. So they get points for the more what you call minority categories that they hire, right? So for example, if they hire a black person, that's 1 point. If they hire a female, that's another point, right? But they get the most points if they combine the two. So if they hire a black person and a female, that's 2 points. If they just hire a black person as a male, that's just 1 point. So who's the benefit in that situation? The sisters. The sisters are the benefit because the employer gets 2 points by hiring this person. Now, in addition to another, which is, come with the LGBTQ movement is they get another point for hiring a person who is in the LGBTQ community. So they can get potentially 3 points by hiring a black person, a black female, and a black female who is in the LGBTQ community. So what happens is a lot of times you got brothers that are strong, that are alpha males. They getting turned over on these positions because they only get 1 point by hiring them, but 2, they don't go along with the program. They don't play the corporate politics, right? So what happens is, oftentimes when you do get a black male in these positions in the corporate world, especially in these positions of power, they have to be, most of the time, they're usually a little bit zesty. They're usually a black male and a homosexual, because that's the type of black male that is accepted in corporate America. They don't accept strong black alpha males in corporate America. They look at that as a threat, because this black male is always thinking about, how can I get ahead? How can I better myself? How can I not just go along just to get along? Whereas the black female, she's wired to be that way. She's wired to go along just to get along. The black homosexual, he's as well going to laugh when things ain't funny, going to scratch when he ain't itching. You know, he's going to do what he needs to do to get along with the corporate structure. The dominant black alpha male is not. He's going to be trying to figure out, he's going to be cordial, he's going to be respectful, but he's not just going to put up with the BS and turn the other cheek as these others might do. So you often find that type of prejudice and racism that goes on in the corporate world that you don't have to deal with in the streets. And I've already alluded to that. In the streets, you are the major determiner of what happens in your economic destiny. So with that being said, that is what I dislike about the corporate world. That is some things also that I like about the street illegal world. So with that being said, like, share, subscribe. I will holler at y'all later. Peace.